The council chamber was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and refuses to leave. Hundreds of species had gathered, their strange forms hovering, slithering, or standing tall on the polished platform that circled the chamber's vast expanse. At the center, the holographic image of Earth flickered, green and blue, scarred by wars humans barely survived, oceans poisoned, cities crumbling into dust. Earth is a lost world, the High Arbiter declared, his voice, amplified through the Council's translation matrix, cut through the air like ice. It has become a liability. The humans cannot endure, and their planet cannot recover. We withdraw our protection effective immediately. A murmur spread through the chamber. Some species applauded. Others simply stared, unsure whether to grieve or celebrate. But there was one species that said nothing. They were small, unremarkable by galactic standards. Humanoid in shape, with pale skin that shimmered faintly in the chamber lights, eyes wide and observant, hands folded neatly in front. Most of the council had forgotten them long ago, thinking them inconsequential. Yet they had always been there, quietly watching, quietly learning. "We will stay," their ambassador said, voice calm but firm. It echoed oddly in the chamber, as if the word stay carried weight far beyond the speaker. The other council members scoffed. "You dare defy the council? You will be alone in your loyalty," the High Arbiter sneered. "No one will help you when the humans perish." The small species did not flinch. They had seen Earth crumble, had walked among the ruins where humans fought not for glory but mere survival, scavenging food, repairing broken machines, and fighting off the predators that now roamed unclaimed cities. They had learned the humans were weak, desperate, and terrified, but also stubborn. "Perhaps," the ambassador said softly, "but we remember, and some debts are never forgotten." The chamber erupted into laughter. One of the larger, more tentacled species barked. "Debts? The humans are dying. There will be nothing left to repay." But the ambassador only inclined their head, eyes fixed on the hologram of Earth. No one could see the faint shimmer of determination in their gaze, a light no counselor could snuff out. That night, while the galaxy's fleets turned their backs and the council declared Earth a doomed world, the small species arrived on the planet's surface. They came quietly, unnoticed by the humans themselves, who had long since learned not to trust anyone but themselves. And there they stayed. They repaired broken water purifiers, stabilized crumbling habitats, and shielded the remnants of human technology from scavengers who had begun to crawl across the planet's fractured continents. They taught humans to make what little they had last longer, to find new ways to survive in a world the galaxy had written off. But the humans did not know who their saviors were, nor did they understand that every day of survival came with a cost. Above them, in the black expanse of space, the abandoned fleets glimmered like distant stars. They carried no mercy, no hope, no intention of returning. Earth was a forgotten world. Humanity, a failed experiment. Yet in hidden corners of the planet, the small species left signs. Machines repaired beyond recognition. Crops that grew against all odds. Shelters that could withstand storms no human architecture had survived. And slowly, humans began to notice something. Whispers spread among the remaining survivors. "We are not alone." They didn't know who we were. They didn't know when help would come. But a seed of hope, fragile and stubborn, had taken root. Years passed. The council moved on to other matters. Unconcerned with Earth, unconcerned with humanity. Wars flared, new alliances formed, and Earth faded from memory. But on the planet's surface, the small species remained. And with each passing year, they watched the humans not as masters or caretakers, but as witnesses. Witnesses to the resilience of a species the galaxy had abandoned. One day, the ambassador whispered to no one but themselves, staring at a crumbling city skyline. "We will remember this, and someday they will return." The wind carried their words across empty streets, through shattered windows and rusted frames. Somewhere deep beneath the ruins, in the hearts of humans who still fought, perhaps the words reached them, perhaps they did not. But the promise had been made, and across the silent galaxy, an unseen debt had begun to take shape. The wind swept across the desolate plains of what had once been a thriving city, carrying with it the scent of dust, rust, and scorched metal. Human survivors moved cautiously, scavenging for food, water, and scraps of technology that might still work. They were ghosts of a civilization the galaxy had abandoned, and most had long given up hope of seeing anyone, human or otherwise, reach out for them. But they were not alone. The small, pale-skinned species had made themselves invisible to human eyes, not out of secrecy, but out of respect. They helped quietly. They repaired broken water purifiers buried in rubble. They reinforced shelters against storms that tore through weakened cities. And they shielded the last pockets of human technology from scavengers, mechanical, alien, or animal, who sought to exploit what remained of Earth. The humans had begun to notice anomalies. A water filter would work for days longer than it should. A crop, planted in what they thought was infertile soil, would sprout overnight. Broken solar panels began humming again, generating power with no apparent source. Whispers spread through the survivor enclaves. Someone is watching, helping. No one could see them, but the loyal species observed closely. Every human who stumbled, every machine that failed, every life that seemed on the brink of ending. It was recorded, measured, and saved when necessary. Time passed slowly on Earth, each year like a drop of water in an endless drought. Outside, the galaxy had moved on. The Council had declared the planet dead, its species forgotten. Wars raged elsewhere, alliances shifted, and new powers rose and fell. Earth was a ghost in their collective memory. Yet on the planet's surface, life clung stubbornly to existence. And with it, hope. Then, one day, strange signals began appearing in the deep reaches of Earth's abandoned orbit. Satellites that had long been dormant blinked to life without explanation, sending faint pulses into the void. The loyal species detected them immediately. Their eyes glimmered with surprise. They had expected humanity's survival to be slow, quiet, and desperate, not marked by signs of awakening technology. "It has begun," the ambassador murmured, almost reverently. Days later, the signal strengthened. Ancient communication arrays, long stripped for parts, suddenly hummed, reconnecting with satellites humans had thought lost forever. The messages were indecipherable at first, fragments of encryption codes from a civilization thought extinct. Humans themselves began noticing small anomalies. Drones they had used before the collapse started moving on their own. Machines they had abandoned suddenly powered up. Even weapon systems, carefully hidden, began to respond commands in languages no one alive could understand. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to stir unease and hope. The loyal species worked harder than ever. They protected these mysterious reactivations, ensuring no scavenger or opportunist could interfere. But even they could not fully explain what was happening. Whatever was awakening in orbit was old, powerful, and unmistakably human. One evening, under a dim sky streaked with clouds, the ambassador stood atop a ruined tower, gazing at the faint blinking of satellites above. "They are returning," the ambassador whispered, a note of awe in their voice. "Returning? But how?" one of their aides asked, confusion lacing their tone. The ambassador shook their head. "I do not know, but it does not matter. The humans may have been abandoned, left to perish, yet something within them survived. Something the galaxy cannot take away." A chill swept across the empty streets below. Somewhere, deep in the ruins, a child laughed, a pure, human sound that survived decades of despair. Somewhere else, a man found a water purifier mysteriously repaired, saving his dying family. Somewhere, buried beneath the rubble of a collapsed city, a drone lifted itself from dust and activated its lights. Earth was still fragile. Humanity was still weak. But the first threads of a future were being woven, threads that not even the galaxy's indifference could unravel. And as the stars outside Earth's atmosphere glimmered silently, a faint pulse of movement caught the eyes of the loyal species. Something, or someone was coming. The ambassador smiled faintly. "It seems the debt will not wait forever." For the first time in decades, a sense of anticipation replaced the quiet vigilance. The galaxy had abandoned Earth, but the humans were waking, and the loyal species would soon witness a reckoning that no council chamber could ever foresee. And far beyond Earth, in the dark cold of space, a fleet was forming, quiet, hidden, and patient. Humanity had survived. Humanity had learned. And one day, they would return not as beggars, but as a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. At the edges of known space, scout ships detected movement where none should exist. Fleets that bore the unmistakable signature humanity, old, forgotten, and thought extinct, slipped silently between stars. Their engines hummed with power centuries ahead of the galaxy's greatest technology, yet no alarms had been raised. Until now, the High Arbiter paced the council chamber, tentacles twitching with unease. "Reports are confirmed," he said, his voice tense. "Human vessels, they exist, not scattered, not primitive survivors, but fleets, organized, armed, and moving toward the outer sectors." A younger counselor, a crystalline being from the Villari cluster, tilted its faceted head. "Impossible. The humans were abandoned decades ago. Their technology decayed. Their population shattered." "How?" The High Arbiter did not answer. He only stared at the hollow map of approaching fleets, each dot blinking steadily in calculated formation. A cold realization settled over the chamber. The humans had not perished. They had been waiting, preparing. Meanwhile, on Earth, the loyal species had noticed the signals first. Strange transmissions pulsed through long-abandoned satellites, carrying fragments of old human encryption codes, now active and evolving. The ambassadors' eyes glimmered. "They had begun," they whispered to themselves. The first contact was subtle, a single beacon near the edge of the solar system. It pulsed in a pattern that only the loyal species could recognize, a human signature. Over the following days, multiple signals appeared, each stronger than the last. Communication relays, weapon systems, and drones, all long dormant, activated as if obeying a command written centuries ago. The humans were returning, not in desperation, not to beg, but with purpose. Deep within the galaxy, fleets scrambled. Worlds that had once scoffed at Earth began to whisper rumors of human resurgence. Traders stopped in mid-flight, merchants froze their deals, and even the fiercest warlords hesitated. The Council sent envoys, but they did not dare approach the outer systems alone. The humans' technology was unfamiliar, terrifyingly advanced. The High Arbiter realized with growing dread that these humans were not the weak, struggling species left behind. They were a force the galaxy had underestimated. On Earth, the ambassador gathered their aides. "Prepare for them," they said, voice steady. "They are coming, and they will honor the debt they promised long ago." "But the humans," one aide asked, "they survived without us?" The ambassadors shook their head. "No, they survived because we stayed, because we gave them time. They will repay that debt, and when they arrive, the galaxy will see what we knew all along. Humanity is never to be underestimated." As the first human ships entered the outer orbit, the loyal species observed silently, hearts pounding with anticipation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, sleek and powerful, bearing the marks of civilization that had learned, adapted, and prepared for centuries. A signal echoed from the human fleet, its tone both ancient and commanding. It was simple, direct, and unmistakable. "To those who stood with us, you are not forgotten." Across Earth, across the void, a ripple of awareness spread. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations, the same that had abandoned humanity, began to realize the enormity of their mistake. The High Arbiter's tentacles trembled. They are coming for those who helped them?" he whispered, fear in his voice. The Villari counselor nodded slowly. "It seems the humans repay debts and punish betrayal." For the first time in centuries, the loyal species allowed themselves a small, quiet smile. The humans they had protected, the species the galaxy had mocked for their loyalty, were coming home. And when humanity arrived, they would not arrive quietly. The galaxy had abandoned Earth. They had underestimated its survivors. And the debt humanity carried across the stars was about to be collected. The ambassador looked to the sky, a glimmer of pride in their eyes. "Prepare yourselves," they murmured. "The humans are returning. And nothing will ever be the same again." The first human ships appeared at the fringe of Earth's orbit like silent ghosts, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness of space. They did not thunder into the system, nor did they fire indiscriminately. They moved with precision, with purpose, and with a discipline that no other species in the galaxy could rival. On the surface, The loyal species watched from hidden observation posts, their pale eyes reflecting the light of the fleet. For decades, they had protected Earth, repaired what was broken, and saved lives the galaxy had written off. Now, the humans they had saved were returning, not as beggars, not as survivors, but as something entirely new. The first transmission crackled through the communication arrays. It was unmistakably human, yet centuries ahead of any technology the galaxy had seen. Its tone was calm, measured, but carried a weight that resonated through every frequency. To those who stood with us when no one else would, we honor our debt. The ambassador's gaze sharpened. They remember, they whispered, every one of them. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council scrambled. Worlds that had abandoned Earth sent fleets to intercept. Traitors who had ignored human pleas decades ago tried to flee, but humanity ignored them. Their target was singular. The loyal species had defied the Council, that had stayed when the galaxy walked away. One human ship landed in a cratered plain of what had once been New York. From emerged humans accompanied by a small contingent of their alien allies, the loyal species, now hailed as honored guests. Humans extended hands, offered technology, and rebuilt infrastructure in ways that the galaxy had once deemed impossible. Weapon systems were upgraded, not to attack, but to defend the loyal species from the very powers that had abandoned them. Power grids hummed with energy no human or alien had seen in centuries. Communications networks spanned continents, connecting settlements that had been isolated and vulnerable for decades. And then came the message. Simple, direct, in the language of diplomacy, but with the unmistakable edge of truth. You stood with us when we had nothing. Humanity does not forget its debts. Let all who abandoned Earth remember this lesson. Across the galaxy, ambassadors listened in horror. Worlds that had abandoned humanity, or worse, sought to profit from their extinction, trembled. They realized too late that this was not mercy, but power measured in patience and precision. Humanity had waited. Humanity had prepared. Humanity had returned. On Earth, children laughed in the streets as the rebuilt cities shimmered under artificial sunlight. Human engineers worked alongside the loyal species, sharing knowledge and restoring what had been lost. It was not charity. It was repayment. Every tool, every ship, every defended settlement was a promise kept. And then, as a quiet demonstration of intent, human fleets moved through the nearby systems. They did not attack the galaxy's fleets that had abandoned Earth. They merely passed by, a reminder that even the greatest powers were not untouchable. Yet their presence was undeniable, a silent warning. Any future aggression against those who stood with humanity would carry consequences beyond imagination. The loyal species, who had once been mocked for their devotion, now walked among humans as equals, protected and honored. The ambassador, standing atop a restored tower overlooking a bustling city, felt a rare sense of peace. We did what we promised, they said softly. We stayed, we remembered, and they kept their word. The wind carried the echoes of laughter, of humming machines, and of distant fleets moving with purpose. The galaxy had abandoned Earth, had left humanity to perish. But the debt humanity carried across the stars had been remembered and had been repaid in full. Somewhere in the council chambers, the High Arbiter whispered, trembling, the humans, they remembered everything. And on Earth, under the light of the sun that had witnessed centuries of struggle, one truth became undeniable. Humanity never forgot. Humanity never abandoned a friend. And the galaxy would never forget them. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Planets that had once mocked Earth now watched as human fleets moved through the stars, not to conquer, but to protect. Trade routes were rebuilt under their oversight. Worlds that had been left vulnerable now thrived under new defenses and technologies supplied by the humans. And at the center of it all stood the loyal species, the ones who had refused to abandon Earth when the Council had walked away. Cities that had been ruined became vibrant hubs of life. Energy grids hummed with power once thought impossible. Communication spanned entire continents, connecting every settlement, every survivor, every community. Humanity's gift was not merely survival, it was prosperity. In council chambers across the galaxy, ambassadors whispered in awe. They had abandoned humanity, ridiculed its survivors, and left Earth to rot. Now, they were reminded that patience and loyalty could not be measured in days or years. They were measured across centuries. The loyal species walked freely among humans, no longer the quiet observers of Part 1. They had become allies, partners, and friends. Where once their loyalty had been scorned, it was now revered. From orbit, the ambassador looked down at the transformed planet. Ships of all sizes glided across rebuilt cities. Human engineers and the loyal species worked side by side. Children played safely in streets once filled with rubble. For the first time in centuries, Earth seemed alive. A message echoed through every frequency, reaching every corner of the galaxy. We stood together when no one else would. The galaxy may have forgotten, but we did not. Humanity does not abandon those who stand with it, and we repay our debts in full. Every world that had doubted humanity paused. Some shivered with fear, others with respect. The lesson was clear. Those who betrayed humanity, who abandoned allies, or who underestimated the strength of the human spirit now understood the consequences. The loyal species gathered on Earth's highest restored tower. The ambassador addressed the humans, now their equals in status and purpose. "You remember the promise," the ambassador said. "You came as you said you would. You paid the debt and more." A human commander nodded, eyes calm and resolute. "We always remember," he said. "We never forget. The galaxy should know loyalty, patience, and perseverance are not weaknesses. They are strengths. And anyone who harms those who stood with us learns that truth quickly. Across the stars, fleets move with purpose. Any threat to the loyal species was met with precision, discipline, and overwhelming force. Humanity did not seek war, but the galaxy learned swiftly that mercy was earned, and betrayal carried consequences beyond imagination. Years passed, and the story of Earth's salvation became legend. Humans spread knowledge, culture, and technology, not for conquest, but for protection of those who had stood with them in their darkest hour. And Earth, once abandoned, once forgotten, stood as a beacon, a reminder that even in the face of the galaxy's indifference, loyalty endured, debts were remembered, and strength rose from perseverance. The ambassador watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the bustling cities below. For decades, they had wondered if humanity would ever repay the trust, the care, the hope they had invested. Now they knew. "We chose well," they said softly, a faint smile touching their lips. "And the galaxy will never forget us, either." Above Earth, human fleets shimmered like a constellation brought to life, a living testament to the promise kept. The galaxy had abandoned Earth. They had left humanity to perish. But humanity had survived. Humanity had returned. And humanity had repaid every debt in full. The stars themselves seemed to bend toward the planet, as if acknowledging a truth that no council, no fleet, no alien power could deny.